Okay. So, as I was saying, Module 2 closes. I'm going to do a review on Wednesday. So remember, you can tune in if you want. You can connect to the sessions. You just need to let me know in advance so that I can make it visible for you to chime in and watch the actual lecture. So you can do that if you want, or you can watch the video recording, which will be posted. And it's going to be going over the elements for your exam. All extra credit must be turned in by Sunday, along with the second chance on your exam. And that's when module 1, oh, excuse me, I should say module 1, and this is module 2. Oops. Module 1 closes, and module 2 has now been opened. In fact, I just opened it this morning for you, okay? I want to go through what's the important next steps, and I am pretty jazzed about the topic proposals that I was able to take a look at this morning. If you did not submit a topic proposal, you now have to send it to me in an email, all right? If you want to wait until I post the topics for everybody to see, you can do that. You will not get any credit for this assignment because you missed the turn-in date. However, you need to get approval before you start our next steps, because I'm going to talk about the next steps today, and you're going to want to jump on this because the next steps are hard. Coming up with the topic was the easy part. Creating an annotated bibliography with college-level research is far more difficult. All right, so keep that in mind. You want to work early rather than waiting till the last minute. Okay, what I want to do today is to go through what is an annotated bibliography. So I'm going to show you an example. We're going to talk about the types of sources that are acceptable as well as what is required. All right, so pay attention and take notes. I also want to talk about what kinds of things you're going to be looking up. And so we're going to do a little activity by looking at taboos. We're also going to give you extra credit for this one. If you get assistance from the SCC librarian, any of the SCC librarians, and you can give me evidence of that assistance, then I will add 5 extra points to your annotated bibliography, all right? And then we're going to talk about what are going to be some 9 rules that I want you to follow to govern your research as well as the writing of your annotated bibliography, okay? So let's start off with, let's open up Module 2. And let me give you a quick overview of what you're going to be seeing. And you may want to go ahead and follow along with me on your laptops. So hopefully you are seeing it now. And we're going to share. Oh, I want to share screen. Sorry. Oh, why is it not sharing? I'm so sorry, you guys, with this technical difficulties. This has to just make you so crazy because it is certainly making me crazy. So let me try one more thing. If this doesn't work, we're going to go to Plan B. All right, we're going to go to Plan B. Stop sharing. All right. So if you are looking at your screen, on your laptop, on your phone or your laptop, I want you to notice a couple of elements. In Module 2, all right, I'm going to go to Module 2. I want you to notice that your options are a little more. So when you take a look at the discussion forums, there are now 3 options that you can select to decide which one you want to do. Only one for credit. If you still want to do more, you're welcome to do that. But I'm not going to grade them all. I'm only going to grade one, and I usually go in order, so I'll grade the C first, the D, and the E. If you do multiple, I'm not going to select the highest grade. So I don't want you to play that game, so to speak. However, the discussion forums are valuable, and if you want to do them because you want to continue your learning experience for your self-directed path, I say go for it. I think that's awesome. All right. One of the activities that I do recommend is what's known as DFE, which is the conflict styles and management. This is a pretty cool activity to identify your preferred style for handling conflict and why. Now I'm going to teach this as a lecture, but if you want to complete the questionnaire to find out what is your preferred style and styles to help the lecture make more sense, I encourage you to do that. Oh, excuse me. Same goes for your journals. And I will have your Module 1 journals graded in the next couple of days. Now, if you're there, I want you to look at the assignment for your annotated bibliography. I'm so sorry, excuse me. It's just a tickle. Okay. Let me pull myself together. Okay. There is a grading rubric to show you exactly what it's going to look like. So if you click on the grading rubric, you're going to see what I expect to see. Mine is taking time to open. I don't know about yours. And it's being really slow. Which is good because it helps me to not cough. All right. What it's going to do is require you to do research that passes the crop test. All right. And you may have learned this in other courses, or you may not have. And so I want to give you an overview of what this means. It's explained here for you, and after this, you're welcome to go back to the crap test and this document so that you know that it has to be current data, it needs to be relevant, on point for both the point of communication, it needs to be authoritative, and we'll talk about that in a moment, and it needs to be accurate. Do not plagiarize. And finally, it needs to be for positive purpose. Now, the requirements for an annotated bibliography means that you need a minimum of 5 sources. I gotta tell you, that's kind of weak. My suggestion is that you go for 7. 7 is going to make your research richer and your learning experience that much better. You'll see that it says you're going to include a brief summary paragraph about each of your sources. So if you have 5 sources, you're going to have 5 paragraphs. If you have 7 sources, you'll have 7 paragraphs. And when you're looking at those paragraphs, I want you to think about how are you going to use certain information from the research, right? What are you looking to really hone in on, especially if you find a research paper that has, completed by a professor at a university that's 20 pages long. You're not going to use all that. So identify what 1 or 2 pages has the relevant information that you want to utilize. And then you'll see that here is what I'm looking for in terms of the grading and the points. This is worth 100 points. So you'll want to make sure that all these things are followed in terms of writing properly. Okay? So that's there for you to see. And that should help you to know exactly how you're going to be graded. The next thing I want you to notice is that there is a video for how to write an annotated bibliography. Some of you have never done these before, and that's okay. Welcome to college, because you will probably do far more of these, all right? So you can do them in my class. I have expectations. I won't be as picky as some professors, especially in the 300 level classes, but I am looking for a degree of accuracy. There is also a wonderful source called the Owl at Purdue that goes through detailed instructions for how to do an annotated bibliography. So if you've never done it, my suggestion is to start there, and it's as well as the video to get an overview of what's expected. I've also listed approved communication journals. Now, these are journals that are peer-reviewed, academic, research-based pieces of information that are conducted and written in a manner that is reliable and valid. You can trust the author. The author is going to be somebody with a PhD, possibly working on a PhD, or an EDD, etc. So these are going to be good quality people who know what they're doing. If you don't know how to make a citation according to APA, there is Citation Machine listed here, and it's a really good tool to use to actually get the APA format. We use APA in communication studies because in many universities it is actually under the Department of Social Sciences. All right, here is the access to the Boyd Library, and there are also steps to follow to get access to the different periodicals from home. So you'll want to check that out. I also encourage you to work with a tutoring center if you need. And I've also given you a PowerPoint lesson for how to conduct this research to pass the CRAP test. All right, and so you can watch that on your own. I'll do a little bit of a review of that in class as well, along with an audio video lesson. And then, of course, you have your Module 2 test. So this is really focusing on your research. So that's what I want you to do. And you've got options. So we'll close that out and go back. All right, so now, oh, also, you may want to look at a sample. There is a student sample annotated bibliography that shows you how to write your page, how to set it all up so that it looks professional and academic, etc. All right, so now let's talk about what are the sources. All right, I'm going to give you sources to get started. All right, so, and I'm going to do a shout out to Lauren Tiglis. Lauren did an excellent example of a topic proposal. Hers was the first to be submitted. She actually submitted it on September 15th. So this is approved. The others I don't know yet because I have to go in order of submission. And using her write-up is a great example for what we're looking for in research, okay? So she would like to study the LGBTQ community in Uganda, all right? And very interesting, very interesting. She writes that she believes this is important to have a better understanding of the culture and community, not only in the United States, but in other parts of the world, because you come across so many different people with different interests and allows me to understand the person better. Love it. She also has some friends that are part of the community, and she would like to better understand them. She believes that, and here are her IPC terms, theories, and practices that she's going to use to do her research, to guide her research. She wants to look at love styles. She's going to look at prejudices. She also wants to look at listening behaviors. And she wants to look at what's considered or do a comparison of masculine versus feminine cultures. Excellent. All right. Now, that gives her a lot of breadth and will enable her to do a lot of focus. Her first place to do her research is in her textbook. So the first place on her annotated bibliography is going to be a source listed in alphabetical order. You always go in alphabetical order according to the author. But one of her authors needs to be the textbook. So in her sources, to pass the CRAP test, she is going to use one, the textbook. All right. Now, she can go to a page in the textbook that gives a definition of love styles, another part of the textbook that gives a definition for culture, all kinds of different elements that she can utilize. And then she will use her page number references inside her annotated bibliography of what she wants to use. Okay? Next thing I want her to think about are the lectures, the in-class lectures. And here she would say lecture and then do September 22nd. All right? As the example of a lecture that she listened to that she can point to, and this is what I stated in it. Okay? So she can have lots of lectures where she can weave in. So what you might do in her annotated bibliography is say, it'll be by my name, so it'll be Kruska C in annotated bibliography, and she's going to say the lectures and give the dates. Okay, that's pretty good. Another element that is required, see, look at how close we are to 5 already. Another element that she's going to do is everybody is required to find a video. Now this needs to be a video that passes the CRAP test, okay? Not somebody's blog. It needs to be an educational video, and most of those are going to be very long. So what you're going to do is to list it, let's say it's a TED Talk, all right? And you're going to give, the author, following the APA format, everything. And And then what you're going to do is to tell me, and then you're going to tell your classmates what part of the TED Talk you want your audience to see. The goal is to not exceed 5 minutes. That's your minimum. It needs to be a minimum of no, the maximum is 5 minutes. If it goes to 7, it's not the end of the world, but you really want your classmates to watch your video. So if it's too long, they're not going to watch it, all right? And so you're going to say then, in parentheses, to watch, minute 15.6 to 21.4, right? And that directs your audience to know what to look at when that video is brought up. Okay. So now you have 3 right there. You need 2 more. Lauren just needs 2 more to help her. So before class, I did a Google search. And I encourage you guys to pull up your internet and type in LGBTQ Uganda. All right. Now, if your list is similar to mine, the first item on the list is Wikipedia. And I don't want her to go there to use that data unless I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click on this Wikipedia site. And I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of it. All right? And what I'm going to find is a section called references. And these are all the references that people used to contribute to Wikipedia. These will have some legitimate sources that you can now go to. All right. So here is a BBC article. Okay, that would be okay. Let's see. Well, lots of BBC, which is British broadcasting. Here is an actual document from Uganda. It's called the Penal Code Act. It's in PDF, and it is by police force, but that's way back in 1950. So that's not going to pass the CRAP test. Okay. So what you will want to do is look at, okay, here's an article in 2016 produced by a newspaper called Mamba Online in Africa, and it says major LBT rights court victory in Uganda. So there's lots of different points. Oh, here's a good one. Here's a Pew report, Pew Global Attitudes Project. And this one is from 2010. It's 10 years old, so it's going to be probably too old. But it does give a starting point, and you could probably find a more recent Pew report. Okay, so that's Wikipedia. Never, ever, ever use Wikipedia as a listed source in your bibliography. It will not count. You'll have points taken off. It's not credible because people can go in and make those changes. So what you do is you go to the primary source. And Wikipedia has a set of primary sources at the bottom that you can click on and see if they're legit. And if so, then that might be helpful. Now, I want you to also notice that there are some news reports. There is an NBC News report, an ABC News report, the Guardian News report. But here's a really good one. Okay, after scrolling down, it's a .edu, right? It's a .edu. And the .edu is from Georgetown University, which is highly reputable, all right? And the title is Are LGBTQ Human Rights in Uganda a Lost Cause? That's going to be rich in data. And that was published February 7th, 2020, all right? Great one, great one. You may use some .com agencies, such as news reports. Just recognize that, remember we talked about continuums. The farther left it's going to be, that report is going to have a filter that identifies it as being more liberal versus another .com, let's say Fox News, is going to be over here at more right conservative, left liberal, all right? So MSNBC, CNN's going to be over here. I prefer NPR, National Public Radio, or IPR, as news services that I can trust. Another one that is a little bit more right, but because I'm a businesswoman, is the Wall Street Journal. I also get a lot of news that I think, not the editorials, but the real data is highly reputable from the Wall Street Journal in terms of statistics. Okay. So you need to look at .coms, maybe one or two, okay? .orgs are iffy, question mark. They have to be a legitimate organization. .edus are excellent. .gov, the Uganda government, is very good. .net, yeah, don't even go to .net, all right? Anybody can get those. .coms are okay when they are reputable news organizations, okay? So that's what I mean by being very, very careful about your research. Now, she goes on to explain that these terms, she believes, will help her because she will have a better insight of the different theories on what everything is. Not just what I think it is, not just what she thinks it is. It's going to give her an opportunity to see the exact definitions of things. Now that's very valuable, all right? Because that's going to take us down here to the 9 rules for your research, okay? I will post these as a reminder, but basically what we're looking at is an article that was published in 2001 in Intercultural Communication Journal, provides a practical guide for studying and utilizing communication in an international community. And the rule number 1, you have to start with knowing your own culture. That's rule number 1. So if you're looking for a definition, start with what is the LGBTQ definition according to our culture here in the United States, all right? And then look at it as it is defined in Uganda, all right? Look at love, all right, and marriage in the United States, and look at it in Uganda. Uganda, polygamy is practiced a lot, even by Christians, all right? Men have many wives, right? So you may want to look at marriage according to how it's defined in the United States and then compare it to what it is in Uganda, all right? And why are there differences for men versus women, which is going to get you into what kind of a culture it is. Okay, so first understand your own. Number 2 is have a really positive attitude. really approach it with exactly how Lauren identified, wanting to learn more. Be enthusiastic to find out the facts, the real data. All right. But with a positive attitude, not with going in to look at this is bad, this is ugly, this is, sinful or whatever it is. No. Look at it from, I want to try and understand the other viewpoint. Number 3 is you must be motivated to want to communicate. So that means then that the whole idea is, as Lauren identified, she wants to be able to communicate with her friends who are members of the community here in the United States. So she already has the desire, the motivation to want to communicate. Now, number 4 is very important. Ethnocentrism. Remember I talked about that when we were looking at attitudes, values, and beliefs. Ethno means that ethno, myself, all right, your culture is the centrism, or the best. And therefore, you evaluate everybody else based on your way of being, all right? Well, there's a reason why in Uganda there is polygamy practiced. And a lot of it is machoism. A lot of it is because of the high mortality rate of women. All right? It is also identified as the value of children as labor. So the more wives you have, the more children you can produce, and therefore the more labor you have. Right? So it's very complex. You can't evaluate it based on our norms. You have to look at it from their perspective. What is their survival? What do they need? And what has served them well? And as they become more industrialized, do they need to alter or change their choices? Number 5 is learn the target cultural's rules. Now here's another activity I want you to do. I want you all to pull up your Google again, all right? And what I want you to type in are taboos, Taboos, in Uganda. Okay? Taboos. Taboos. All right? Well, let me give an example of a taboo in the United States. A taboo in the United States is that it's not polite to disclose what your salary is on the job, nor should you ever ask a person what their salary is on the job, right? Now that's starting to change in the United States. And one of the reasons why it's starting to change is because of equal pay initiatives. And if you don't tell anybody what you're making, then nobody knows that you're making a whole lot more than them, or what have you. All right, so that's a real taboo in the United States. But it's changing because people want to find out what others are making so that there can be equal pay. But when we type in taboos in our Google, we're going to find some interesting things. There are food taboos. Menstruation is really an interesting how that's handled and what happens for women during these times. Goats, interesting in Uganda what they believe about goats. Let's see. Cultural mistakes to avoid in Uganda. Let's look at this one. Let's see, top cultural mistakes. Understand hospitality. Learn to speak like a local. Avoid Youglish. Know how to greet people by the proper style. Be respectful in your conversations. Uganda is highly relational. Dress well, but keep it modest, right? Always show immense respect for the elderly. This is a huge one. Do not show emotions such as frustration and anger. They really suppress those emotions. And even though you are good at demonstrating to others how you feel in the moment, that is not something that you should be doing. No affection in public places, etc. So there's lots of different things to be looking at. Okay, so learn the rules, do the taboos search on your culture that you've selected. Number 6 is, she does not have this one down, but I encourage you, and Lauren may want to add this, is low versus high context. All right, we're going to talk about that a little bit more coming up in the semester, but that is an important concept to know. All right. Number 7, be flexible in that which you're looking through. Number 8, take responsibility for trying to be a successful communicator. And number 9 is the mindset. And that goes back to the ethnographics, ethnocentric again. Positive attitude, be adaptable, use effort, and assume responsibility if there is a failure to communicate. So good job. I will be grading everybody else's coming up and give feedback, and that's what we're looking for. Okay. So I talked about extra credit, and we talked about rules. What I'd like to do now is to go ahead and let you go early, since you were so patient. And if anybody has a question, come on up to the microphone, and you can ask me. You don't have to, but only if you do have a question. All right? So come on up and ask. And you guys have a great day. Make sure to watch on